at the 11 o'clock of the cut, you see a little bit of water because it's connected with a pass, and that's where we're going to be flying down.
Another real-world mission in Alaska.
On a typical day, we could go through 3 or 4 major different weather systems on a flight like today.
I've had 3 engine failures, right, and I just don't like losing my options. Flying wheels over waters is a big option I've just lost. Same though when you're in the mountains.
But that'd be over the shoreline.
Yeah, but there's not a lot of shoreline here. I mean, you could land, half the time you're going to land in the water and then hope you make the 50 feet to the shore.
This time we're low level over Prince William Sound.
It's hard to put into words, like flying a Beaver over this kind of terrain here. This is unbelievable. A dream.
And just enjoy it. I know it's a Beaver, but be a little bit of a sports car. And
I'm enjoying it.
If you want to crank it around a little bit.
And as promised, my training was put to the test, beaching the airplane in a spot none of us had ever been.
Eggs are off. Another hard zigzag.
We got lucky again with some awesome Alaskan weather. Through this multi-part series, we've worked with several local experts in Alaska training on floats, including the checkout in the Beaver. Today's mission has us flying with Tim as our guide. He's Martin's partner in Apex, Alaska, and I really enjoyed his motto.
Plan, prepare, and then practice.
You might recognize him from a previous episode where he gave me my first helicopter lesson.
Let's get my collective figured out here. Stabilize.
So for today, I get to put my Beaver checkout in practice as I fly left seat with Tim in the back while he shares his extensive knowledge and experience of this local area. So this is going to be a lot of work as I log several hours flying the Beaver in some pretty amazing territory. And of course, we started with a thorough briefing looking at the charts.
Just to give you perspective, this island in particular, Montague Island, it's at about 60 miles long, maybe just a little bit longer than 60 miles.
Tim is an experienced mariner as well as a longtime float pilot that knows this area really well. So his unique insights were invaluable.
Fishermen would know these as the capes. And when you get down there, you'll see also when you're around the corner and you're exposed to the Gulf of Alaska. So here you're also going to encounter ocean swell. Things are going to look totally different.
So with our route planned,
so we would overfly this one, talk about the hatchery or whatever, and then land here.
In there. Correct.
Yeah, that seems like a good.
Okay.
Cool. Wow, that's a lot.
it was time to get our gear sorted.
We've already laid out where we're going to go. We're going to be up over the mountains, over a glacier, down into the water, and we're at some point going to get on the outside and get into coastal Alaska. On a typical day, we could go through 3 or 4 major different weather systems on a flight like today. We're all going to be wearing our personal flotation devices.
So load up?
Yeah, let's load up.
If you're not caught up and missed the basic training in the Beaver, make sure to go back to the earlier episodes in this series, Training with Martin.
Love the sound of this thing, man.
You never get tired of that song.
Oh, it's a good song.
Good Brandon Whitney song.
This is a packed episode, so we'll start here, post run-up, and get right in the air.
Here we go. Power's set.
Okay, I would lift a float up. Don't force it up, we're heavy today. A little bit more right there. You just wait till she flies off.
In order to get into the advanced stuff quickly, I've cut out most of the basics out of this episode, so let's get into it.
When you're doing this kind of coastal flying, you're flying into potentially a completely different weather system on the other side. It could be a huge low pressure over there. That's not, often they say that there's a low in the Gulf of Alaska, because there's some tremendously low pressure systems that'll just sit right there in Prince William Sound. And when it's sitting over there and you've got the mountains on this side, these mountain passes end up being ventures, which give you a tremendous amount of high wind velocities going through them, and then they fan out to almost nothing by the time you get out to our house. Today, it's a pretty flat system. We're into, the isobars are spread way far apart. We shouldn't be running into that kind of a deal. But even as you're approaching this little pass to drop down, you might think you're holding altitude, but be looking at your VSI, be looking at the visual cues of, am I losing altitude in that saddle? You have to make that decision to turn around before you get to the point the go, no-go decision. If there's any question at all, make sure that you approach a saddle or a pass with the intent that I'm actually not going to go through. I'm going to go and make a generally left-hand turn. Again, it's more comfortable for most pilots to be turning to the left. And when you get over there, even as you're starting your turn, and you look over to the right and you go, not a problem, I've got it made. Quick, easy turn to the right, boom, you're down through the pass and you're continuing on your way.
So I'm going to keep looking off my right side because Anchorage is that way. They have most of the airplanes, and this is our playground. So a lot of them might be joining us right around the ridge, go to the right side. So this is kind of like our JFK area of Alaska.
An upcoming episode of this series has us flying this airplane into the crazy busy airspace of Anchorage. But for now, let's get into the backcountry.
When I say plan, every flight can be slightly different. I mean, when you go to Alaska, that in itself is a plan, and you got to prepare accordingly. Flying to McKinley is going to be slightly different from what we're doing today. So how does that affect what I might want to prepare to take with me? And it does affect. If you just jump in the airplane to go, based on it's a nice day, it's sunny, it's warm, in Alaska, that'll kill you in a heartbeat.
So how long do you think it's going to take us to go all the way down the glacier?
I could tell the distance by cheating, but if I had to guess that, it looks like at least 10 miles.
So about 3 minutes, 500 feet per minute. Now we're going to switch over to the common frequency area.
And Canuck traffic, you got a red and white beaver climbing through 4,200 feet, just entering the Canuck arm.
There you go. So we got a 12 and we got an 800. Just like I said, everybody be nice and low.
I never get this high unless I'm flying commercial.
I was going to say, I think this might be the last time I'm above 2,000 feet for the rest of the summer. A small plane.
On a day like today, if I was flying and giving you a sightseeing tour and we were leveled up, we would just get as close to that point there as we can and just enjoy the scenery, cut the corner tight. You've got so much area to go if something goes wrong. I don't like getting myself into bad situations where my choices are limited. I like to have choices. Flying right along this peak, not a problem on a day like today. There's no turbulence. Flip it with your floats. You peel off to the left anytime.
Another area of Tim's expertise is survival, and he had lots of tips to share on that.
Another typical thing is a dry bag, it's a backpack, and think not just getting to the scene of the accident and going through the accident, but now you're somewhere, it might only be 10 miles away from here, and 10 miles is a tremendous long way when you're dealing with rivers, and now it's raining and the bugs are driving you nuts. I have a pistol in here. We're going to be in some bear country. I've also got a marine radio. It's in a small Pelican case. If you turn it on, it comes right on up to channel 16. And in the marine world, every boat is monitoring channel 16 and channel 9. And the Coast Guard is always on 16. So if you're within VHF range, pulling that radio out when you're in a marine environment is probably a quicker response than trying to get on a handheld VHF radio.
I'm currently working on some related content as I just helped a buddy pick up his new to him PA-32. It's a beautiful old airplane. It came all the way from Calgary to Toronto area, which was about 1,500 miles. Original panel, no GPS, and I filed IFR for the whole flight using traditional nav aids, of course, but we were flying over some pretty inhospitable terrain, and I got my friends at TacAero to help us out with the survival kit. This is going to be trying to take this apart and put it back together again the way it was. The key with the survival kit obviously is to actually know what's in it and how to use it. Oh wow, one shot. Wow, that's awesome. So that whole scene, as well as several of the uncut beaver training flights and briefings, are available to Patreon supporters. Anyway, let's get back on board with Tim.
This isn't flight attitude, is it?
A little nose up a little bit. He needs to bring it down a little bit. There you go.
I think we're going to descend if I do that.
Then you bring a little notch of flaps there, just a bit.
More flaps?
Yeah, just don't, not a full handle, just push it there until you see what the airplane wants to do.
And from here, there's a glacier that we can comfortably go through the saddle at 6,500.
Again, maybe personal preference, but I don't like to be climbing as I'm going into a pass area. I've been in so many elevators up and down where all of a sudden you're like 1,000 foot per minute descent, 2,000 foot per minute descent. I want to be flat, I want to be level, I want to be higher than necessary, and I want to have all kinds of options for turning out. So when you come up into the saddle, we stay a little bit to the right, So you're really comfortable turning out to the left and gaining altitude because the ground's dropping away from you as you're coming back down the glacier.
So we'll get ourselves to that side and then...
You don't want to go down the middle.
Right.
See how narrow it is? Now we have no left or right option.
You don't know what's on the other side until you see on the other side. I think both of them drop into Harriman Fjord, but I think that's the one I normally go through.
Anytime you're on the outside here, you're under ocean conditions which are going to be potentially completely different from what you're seeing in Prince William Sound. What you're going to experience out here possibly took place in Hawaii with a typhoon, and you're seeing the after effects of some huge waves that are coming in.
That is not super clear.
What's that?
The sky. And you might think this is clear, but it's not.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say, it looks like a lot of viz out there.
Well, it is, but there's still a bit of a haze.
You guys get it even clearer than this sometimes?
Oh, yeah. It's just so clean blue. I go back to the Midwest and fly, and I'm like, man, I feel like I'm flying IFR, and it's, you know, like 3 miles, 5 mile visibility.
So just to be clear, the plan here is to kind of cut across those craggy peaks, make a turn, so we end up crossing the saddle at 45.
Definitely approach it at a 45, ready to turn out, or actually enter it with the anticipation I'm turning out, I'm not going through. Let's go back over to that one.
I prefer that one because that one I think it's going to be a little bit like that.
So we're going to this one?
Yeah. But one of the things you can't really see until you get really close is those crevices. Right now it looks like an inch deep. Maybe 2 inches. No, they're not. Anybody who thinks, oh yeah, I'll get that stick an airplane on top of that.
Once you get through this, is the plan to start descending?
As soon as you know you could make it if the engine quit, then go ahead and start your descent.
Once we get on the other side, we'll just power back and we're going to drop right down into Harriman Fjord right down here. And at this point, our flight altitude for probably the remainder of the flight will be as low as we want to get.
Making sure nobody has the same idea on the other side. You can see right now it'd be a pretty good left turn, but if you're in the middle right now, no left turn, no right turn, and you'll be stuck having to ride this through.
So if your engine quit now, if you can make the water, then go ahead and start your descent.
I think we're about there. It's really hard to judge scale here. But
see that little cut that's almost straight ahead on the other side of the water? That's pretty much right where that's Esther Passage.
Okay. So you see the cut, and then at the 11 o'clock of the cut, you see a little bit of water because it's connected with a pass, and that's where we're going to be flying down.
I spent so many summers out here, I'd get over that pass or go through Whittier, and it'd be like, I'm home. The weather could be lousy, but I know the area. I had boats out there I knew. I had always so many outs to go to. And now that I haven't been out here for years,
I miss it even more.
Well, I do, but I don't feel like it's home anymore. I don't know where all the boats are. I can't get on Channel 6 and call the Nip and Tuck and say, hey, John, where are you at? I'm going to come over for coffee. So on a day like today, pretty much any of this water is very landable with this airplane.
Just that it's salt water, though, so we don't want to do it.
Yeah, right. Unless we have to, then we just do it. Not a big deal. So we're just now getting down to about 1,000 foot. We'll probably drop down to maybe 500. And we're going to take a tour of Prince William Sound at about 500 feet. So again, as you're going through here, Steve, stay to the right side. You can stay over the coast or over the water, just slightly over the beach. And you also want to be comfortable making a 180-degree turn.
Are you soaking it in?
Oh yeah, just thinking about it. Amazing.
You're going to have a little boat traffic as we come around on this side. Some of them are going to be drift boats. You'll see some bigger ones that'll be tenders. You also see a bunch of sports fishermen probably hanging out. It won't be a lot of air traffic, but when you're around the commercial fishing fleet, some of the charter operators like Cordova Air and whatnot going back and forth.
But just as you said it, those two showed up. Like, did you see them, or you just literally?
No, he didn't see them. That's his experience speaking up.
There's a great big net on that one.
Yeah, that's a drift boat. Drift boat actually is it's a gill net. So they've got a cork line at the top. That's what you're seeing. You can actually see the web going down into the water. Fish swim into the net. The net is monofilament. The fish can't see it, and the fish literally swim into the net, and then their head goes through, but their body's too big to go through, so they try to back out, but now their gills are on the other side, and they're stuck.
Right.
The salmon fishery of Prince William Sound is legendary, and this is where Tim cut his teeth as a floatplane pilot.
And what are these guys catching? Salmon?
These are red salmon that they're going for.
And you can actually see them shiny in the net, eh?
Yeah, you should be able to if they're in there.
I see some shiny ones in that net.
So some of these points will be very productive, and there'll be competition for who can hang inside close to the point, who wants the outside one, or sometimes they'll wait their turn. You get so many minutes on a point, and then a gentleman's fishery, then the next guy gets to take a chance.
Tim really relies on the marine side of what he knows about float flying, and he doesn't limit himself to just aeronautical charts.
There's not a lot of detail in here, and if you're actually going to be working the sound and flying the sound, you really need to start paying attention to topographical charts and probably even more so nautical charts. You're going to be seeing things like the bathymetry, which is really affecting how the water moves and what you're seeing as far as currents. You can also see the topography as well. So a combination between aviation charts, nautical charts, and topographical charts will really start to give you an idea of what you're dealing with out here.
So you can see a little bit of water to the left. We're going to go into that section, but we'll just go around the point here.
We're just going to carve around left here?
Just go nice and left and just enjoy it. I know it's a Beaver, but be a little bit of a sports car. And
I'm enjoying it.
If you want to crank it around a little bit.
I'll just cut a little bit because we're just going to go over an island here. It's kind of tall.
Yep, whatever you want. You're going to go into the bay and you are going to make a 180-degree turn. If you're not comfortable doing that, then don't go up there.
So this is basically a box canyon.
The nice thing about height is if you have to, half split S also helps you turn your thing, and adding flaps ties up your turn. But
yeah, I'd roll out here, and that way you've got all the room to turn out. This is not a tight box canyon at all.
All right, cool. Well, it's good practice for me because this is not something I'm used to.
We were a lot tighter taking off yesterday from our lake, and we were at 4,000 feet.
Start the turn above this knoll here?
Yeah, anytime you're in a canyon, you don't look straight ahead. You look where you think you can, like motorcycle riding. You want to look where you're going to come out of that turn. Because just by the time the terrain's in front of you, you're at 90 degrees. That's not when you want to know. It's like, I wish I was tighter. You got flaps out, right? We always want to maneuver.
Yeah, they're out.
Yeah. See how tight? We could have done it another one. Roll out. The waterfalls are a little bit to the right.
Yeah, it's going to appear any second.
Yeah. And give them a flat platform.
Did I turn too tight?
No, we're good.
Where's the waterfall? Oh, here it comes. There it is. Yeah, that is a pretty nice one. Oh, I got a rainbow. That's neat. Yeah, it's hard to put into words, like flying a Beaver over this kind of terrain here. This is unbelievable. A dream. So if you're flying your Cubs through here, how high would you be flying?
50 feet, 20 feet. 50 feet if I'm looking behind in the back seat for something.
If I'm on wheels?
Yeah.
10,000. I've had 3 engine failures.
Right.
And I just don't like losing my options. Flying wheels over waters is a big option I've just lost. That bigger boat, that's a tender down there.
What's his job?
Those guys, this evening when the fishery's over, all these little boats will run their fish out to them. And they deliver the fish to the tender weighs them, gives them their fish ticket, and then the tender, once it's filled up, he'll end up going back to Cordova or Valdez generally. Sometimes they'll run down to Kodiak, and they'll bring the fish to the processing plant. So you're probably going to see a lot more boats up around the corner here. The hatchery is two bays up still on the right.
If you explain what a hatchery is, that's like a man-made breeding sort of?
It's a man-made breeding, correct, yep.
And they no longer run naturally, or what?
Oh, they do, but
we're just adding to it?
We're adding to it, and a lot of the natural runs have disappeared over the years. Every hatchery has to have a fresh water supply, and this would be the water supply for the hatchery.
That's cool.
And just keep turning to the left.
So the hatchery is somehow related to this waterfall? Oh, I see it, I guess, down there.
You'll see the pens and all of that where they do the final release.
Yeah, I see that. Wow, there's a lot of them.
And then you can see the schools if you know what you're looking at. I'm going to go around the other side of this island, that's just straight ahead with the snow on it. About 90 degrees off your right side, you're looking back down Passage Canal into Whittier. You spend enough time out here, and again, it's a different world. It's totally unrelated to what's over on the other side. And, I mean, everything, you know, the way life happens, the weather systems, everything completely different. And when you have been out here for even a week, 2 weeks, a month, and then you go back, it's like you've just been time warped into something different. Just follow that water around the corner. I've got buddies that in April will come out here with their boat. They'll spend a weekend. They take their backcountry skis and then they climb the hills up here on Culross Island and do spring skiing. So just enjoy the scenery.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. Seems weird to me that they're fishing right by a hatchery, but don't the fish need time to mature or something?
Oh yeah, these are all ones that are coming back. So depending on the salmon, it could be 2 years, 4 years at sea.
And they come back to where they're born because that's how it works?
Yep, exactly. So at this point, you'll see the lake at the head of the bay. It's a nice long lake. I'll let you take over 100%. So.
Alright, so we'll go in there and we'll assess it like a normal...
Definitely assess it, yeah.
And since we want to access some cameras, we may want to assess it like for sure. Where are we going to bring it? Yeah, the boat or the airplane.
Looks rougher than I would have thought.
There's a lake.
Yep.
So let's go around their shoreline, see if there's anything I see we can do that.
Again, assess it for climbing out, getting back out of here.
There was a good spot that we could have maybe docked right there or even there.
But then we see how the waters come from that way, so now we would have a tailwind into a headwind, and then we're going to go around and make a turn, and then we'll land.
Safe to say we want to land on the bigger bit, right?
Yeah. So go ahead. There you go, you're leaning forward finally. I'm getting you forward. And start cranking some flaps. Help us tighten up the turn. There we go. Bring the power back.
Oh gas, we like it. It's on the rear. We have lots in the rear. Undercarriage is up. Mixture is rich.
Keep coming down.
So
yeah.
Use that point as my reference and then just...
Yeah, and I would probably favor the right side right now.
A little bit more sheltered.
Yeah.
Okay, so gas, undercarriage, mixture, prop, switches, and security, we're all good.
So remember, we got mounds and everything, so you got to pick the shoreline at the end for your aim point when you start flaring it. There you go, nicely done. Hold that pitch, work your power back nice and slow. Remember, the floats are going to grab. We got a little bit of weight on them. Nose up, keep that nose, yeah.
The reason why I was planning on landing longer was just because I thought I saw a better shore further, but...
Feel a whole lot better, but what looks on the ground, what do you think over there on the left side?
Where the sun is?
So at this point, I've got to admit, I feel like I have the landings dialed in, but docking and beaching is definitely still very intimidating. So as we get close, it's down to 1 mag and carb heat hot for the least amount of power, so we don't ram this thing into the shoreline that none of us have been to before. In the next episode, I'll try to get us out of here, and we'll go explore further into Prince William Sound.
We got everything slowing down? Yeah, we're carrying 1 mag. It's the real deal, man. Docking at a place we've never been docked at before. Kill it? Kill it. There we go. Give me some zigzags. Another hard zigzag. Very nicely done. Watch your step.
Actually a pretty nice spot. Alright, water road's coming up. Mags are off. Master's off.
Until the next one, keep your flight chops sharp.
Kirby's back to colds. Not bad, that's the real deal right there. Let's go see where we're at.